A comfy action game? Is such a thing possible? But that's exactly what Dungeons of Hinterberg was able to achieve. More than that, it also evoked the vibes of an old school action game and made me nostalgic for those good old days of classic 3D Zelda and Tomb Raider. In a way, that nostalgia also adds to that comfiness if you grew up with those games. So let's dive right into the titular Dungeons of Hinterberg and see what we can find. We take on the role of Louisa, a burned-out lawyer looking for something more to life outside of her busy career. This desire takes her to the charming little town of Hinterberg, nestled snugly in the mountainous regions of rural Austria. However, Hinterberg isn't just any ordinary town out in the sticks. A few years ago, 25 magical dungeons suddenly appeared around Hinterberg. Along with the appearance of the dungeons came magic. Suddenly, the residents of the town could perform amazing feats. But with this also came monsters pouring out from the dungeons in the form of mythical beings. This attracted attention, skepticism, and most importantly, adventurers from all over the world looking for thrill, excitement, and something different, much like Louisa. Still, things aren't all as it seems in Hinterberg. What mysteries lie within these dungeons and the town's history? Maybe the dungeons hold the answers. Story-wise, the game starts slow and it could feel a little disjointed at times, maybe even difficult to follow. It takes time to introduce the characters, setting, and lore, so much so that it feels like it takes forever to get to the main point of the main story. Are we focusing on Louisa's past life? Are we focusing on Hinterberg? What's the story about? Hard to say at the start. However, once you get there, it does get quite interesting as you'll be met with a little bit of a moral conundrum that will have you thinking that the right thing to do isn't always as straightforward as it seems. The many characters you meet in Hinterberg are pretty diverse. They come from all walks of life and they all have their own unique backstories and motivations. Getting to know the different characters of Hinterberg really shows you the different ways the presence of the dungeons has affected the lives of the people of the town, as well as the people from out of town. It also gives you varied perspectives of how people view all the changes that came about with the vacation-ification of the dungeon phenomenon. Some view it as an annoyance, some as a business opportunity, some as a safety hazard, and some as an opportunity to change their lives. The various points of view help make the dungeon phenomenon feel real and fleshed out. Speaking of dungeons, let's get into the gameplay itself. Dungeons of Hinterberg is an action RPG. As we mentioned earlier, some aspects of the game really call to mind classic 3D Zelda titles. It has a lot of the elements that make up the classic 3D Zelda formula, like dungeons, skills, and items that help you get through said dungeons, and puzzle solving. What reminds me of Zelda the most is that you can't jump, and it's that you jump automatically when you run off edges kind of system. Ah, that good old N64 Zelda feel. The exploration areas are divided into 4 regions. In each region, you learn a different set of magic. However, those magic skills are only usable in the region where you found them. So if we were to bring back the Zelda comparison, it would be like only being able to use the hookshot in one temple and not the others. So while the dungeons have some pretty decent puzzles, I feel like maybe they could have been more creative with the puzzles if they had more magic for the player to use to solve said puzzles. The combat is also quite fun and again feels like older action games. That being said, the controls aren't as tight as most modern action games. The dodge in particular doesn't feel as good. I can't quite pinpoint what it is. Maybe the animation isn't as snappy or maybe it's a little slow. That said, it is still fun and there are a lot of ways to improve and customize Louisa's combat utilities. You can find or buy better equipment for her as well as you have your sword enchanted with various effects. The effects allow you to customize the sword for your specific playstyle. Combined with the charms, which let you further augment Louisa's stats, you can really focus on a certain stat or try to increase your stats all around. For example, in my playthrough, I maximized physical damage and critical, but you could also equip yourself with things that increase your magic damage, or reduce skill cooldowns if that fits your playstyle more. Speaking of skills, outside of magic, you also have another set of skills that you equip yourself with. Unlike the magic, these stay with you regardless of where you are. There's a lot to do when it comes to preparing Louisa for the dangers of the dungeons, and it makes for an engaging experience. There are also 3 different difficulty settings to suit your player level. We played on normal and it felt like a very relaxed action game experience. It didn't really feel challenging to the point that potions felt generally useless. So people who are more experienced with action games may want to go up a difficulty, but also keep in mind that this game isn't really aiming to be a hardcore gamer experience. In fact, there's a built-in God mode toggle for those who just want to have a relaxing, stress-free time. On top of the Zelda-like aspects of the game, Dungeons of Hinterberg also seems to pull on some Persona influences as well. Outside of your dungeon crawling activities, you also get to hang out in the town, giving you opportunities to learn more about the townspeople and your other fellow adventurers. There's also a time system that works much like Persona's. In the morning, you go out to do your dungeoning, or not, that's a choice too, no pressure. In the evening, you prepare for the next day and hang out with your buddies. And like Persona, your relationship with the others also translates to how well you do in battle segments. This is because increasing your bonds with the townspeople unlocks more utilities in the town or adds to your stats and skill or equipment slots. This hanging out with various people aspect is what gives the coziness to the game. It really helps you feel like you're in a small town, getting to know everyone. Having rewards that tie into the combat makes the game a lot more cohesive and incentivizes you to take the relationship seriously. Not only that, engaging in the social aspect of the game also helps with emphasizing an important aspect of the plot later on. Can't talk about that too much cause spoilers, so we'll leave it at that. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a visual delight, boasting vibrant and stunning graphics that bring the game world to life. The town really does feel like what I imagine rural towns in Europe would look like. The different regions are diverse in both visual design and level design. The comic book aesthetic is a nice touch that adds a lot of personality to the visuals. We also noticed that the menu UI could also be taking inspiration from Persona's stylish UI. I mean, who could blame them? Persona's UI is gorgeous. Character designs are distinctive and full of personality. The important characters all feel unique and are easily recognizable. We're going back to the Zelda comparison because some of these facial expressions remind me of Wind Waker. However, the enemy design is the one weak link in the visuals. Outside of the boss enemies, most of the enemy design is fairly bland and forgettable. The audio in Dungeons of Hinterberg complements the game environment well, creating an immersive experience. The sound effects and background music are fitting, enhancing the overall atmosphere. During exploration and town segments, it gives off a chill, relaxed vibe, befitting of being up in the mountainous rural areas of Austria. However, the audio is not particularly exceptional or memorable. It's there in the background and it does work, but it doesn't have any particular iconic track that gets stuck in your head and is synonymous with the game. This is a bit of disappointment, especially since the game's trailer sets us up with this really high energy string piece befitting of an epic journey. All in all, Dungeons of Hinterberg was a very pleasant experience. It provides action but true to its theme of going out in the boonies to get away from the hectic life of a lawyer. It isn't too busy and stressful. The characters are endearing and the story is simple, but has its moments where it can make the little old noggin think and ponder on certain questions a little bit. The nostalgic feeling I got from reminiscing classic action games is somewhat also in theme that it reminded me of a simpler time in video gaming. It's as if I went on my own little relaxation journey back in time for a while. We played this on PC pre-launch and the only available pricing we have for the game is for the Xbox, which is priced around $30 US. For what Dungeons of Hinterberg offers, that's a pretty damn good price. We're giving Dungeons of Hinterberg an 82 for a job well done on this cozy action game. That's all the thoughts we have for this game. So what about you? Will you be getting Dungeons of Hinterberg? If you've played it, what do you think of the game? Feel free to tell us in the comments below. Like if you liked, subscribe for more video game related content, and we'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.